We have one more talk before our closing. So I invited the Center for Threat Informed Defense to speak today. They were created just after the last ATT&CKcon. Rich Struess sort of gave a talk announcing it at the end of last ATT&CKcon, but they were still a few days from being able to land the punchline. But they've put out a ton of different free things that are useful to the attack community over the past 2 years. And so I wanted to give them the opportunity to talk about some of those things that people can actually make use of today coming from them. So please welcome to the stage Ingrid Skoog from MITRE.
I want you all to know I did color coordination with the logo. We arranged ahead of time. So I want to start with some gratitude. We do this in our projects at the center, and putting on an event like this is really freaking hard in normal times, and this is not normal times. So to Adam, to Jamie, to Kat, to everyone back there doing audio and social media and everything, thank you for an amazing couple of days. If cold weather is the only thing we had to deal with and wearing some masks to protect each other, we got off pretty easy. So a round of applause. I won't make you stand if you don't want to. But so my name's Ingrid Skoog. I don't have a who am I slide, but I'll give you a little background. I've been in InfoSec coming up on 20 years. And my path is kind of unusual that I've touched a lot of different industries in that time. Started in government, intelligence community, moved to academia, went to for-profit for a very little bit, and then worked in civil society before coming to do the role I am right now as the Assistant Director of R&D at the Center. Personally, a little about me. If you've talked to me on video chat, you've seen my cat Schrodinger join us often. I enjoy rock climbing and travel. My last trip was to Iceland. Adam and I should have connected ahead of time so I could drum up and see why they're not using attack and get some love there. So for those who aren't familiar with the center, if you're in person, you may have seen these lovely impact reports around sprinkled. I encourage you to take a look at them. On the back, it explains who we are. For those at home, viewers like you, you can go on our website and get the impact report from our website. It is not gated. We don't need your name, phone number, firstborn child. You can just download it and check it out. And you'll see from the logos around here, we have a lot of smart people who have been talking the last couple of days who are our members. I feel really privileged to get to work with all of you. Some are sponsors as research participants and affiliates. And what we do is collaborate on R&D projects. Brian was mentioning earlier that open source work takes people. Not all of us have cool interns to be able to manage that. So we all come together with the collective goal to improve R&D and put it out in the community so that folks can leverage it, work on it, take advantage of it. All of these projects, you see some little snapshots of what we put out, are freely available to everyone. Everything we do goes out there for the community to use. And how do we decide what we do? Our acting director, John Baker, who couldn't be here these last couple of days, describes it as a funnel. You can see the picture right there. We take in lots of ideas from our members, from folks that we meet at conferences like this. What do you see as a problem? What do you see as a gap? What do you wish you could do, but it just doesn't make sense in your particular company to have that happen? We collect them all, down select, and see what's a priority for us. What do we feel we can push forward and actually make a difference on working? At that point, I have the great privilege of taking great MITRE subject matter experts to lead projects and work with our members to create them and push them out into the public. And at that point, we show our thought leadership of, hey, here's this great thing we created. I hope you all can use it and tell us what you think about it. So my job is both easy and hard today because I've been playing the memory game of all the lovely things that you all pointed out about our projects that you're using and how those connect. So it's going to test me of how I can remember this. But also it makes it great, right? I'm trying to, Projects to Impact, talk about, we put out these cool things, we want you to use them. So giving you some examples of how to do that. So first one up, our adversary emulation library. When Selena opened us for us yesterday, she talked about bottom line up front, the bluff thing. This is our bluff. We always, whenever we do a project, talk about what problem we're solving, what the solution is, and what impact we hope that it brings. So for adversary emulation, we were having a conversation at the center just the other day. And when you have teams that are bringing in that different threat intel and trying to create a picture of an adversary, that's a lot of curation work, right? It takes effort to fill in all the gaps, map the attack techniques, and create that through line of how an adversary works to get to their stated goal. We, as a center for Fin6 and for MenuPass, created these adversary emulations for you to use. We have a common methodology, we have all the material out there, and better yet, the attack evaluations team also puts into this library. So there's things like APT29 and other adversary emulations in there for you to use as well. How do we hope you're using them? In your red teaming and purple teaming. You have to think through what adversary makes sense to you, what's going to fit your purpose and metrics of interest that you want to drive to, but please take our work. We don't want to have you duplicate the hard work that we put in to create that through line of the story. And one thing that I want to call back to yesterday when Trellix was talking about storytelling, and so many people have touched on that, right, is we're going to be improving the library coming soon with that storytelling aspect, because we feel like that's a really powerful part of the emulation that exists. So the next few slides I have are around our mapping work. So I'm going to kind of go through these a little quick and then hit on my main point. So the first one I want to highlight is when we mapped attack to CVE. This was us attempting to bridge vulnerability management with threat-informed defense. And I didn't get at it before, but threat-informed defense really is using adversary behaviors as the lens through which we view our defenses. So being able to do that connection between vulnerability management and adversary views is a really valuable thing, right? Another one for those who live in compliance world and have to deal with NIST 853, mapping those controls to attack, seeing where they map up. Further, for the cloud, we've done security control mapping for both Azure and AWS, and we're working on GCP right now. That'll be coming out shortly. So I stole this picture from Jorge. He uses it for the ethical maturity model. Jorge and I don't know each other. I just like to follow really smart people online and absorb what they put out there. And I thought this was very useful that he talks about it in maturing from vulnerability management up to purple teaming and adversary emulation. But really, you don't abandon those early vulnerability management functions as you mature, right? You want those teams to be able to talk. Haley said a lot of smart things in your talk, but one of them, you're talking about connecting the teams and having that common purpose. Attack is our common language, right? We've mentioned Rosetta Stone. We've mentioned Selena with the dictionary. If we have everything with that common framework, we can start to bridge CVEs and look at our vulnerabilities, mapping to the adversary behavior, but then also looking at the control environment and Azure, Amazon, to see where are we hitting things, where aren't we shored up. And, from the great presentations we've had, this is where I'm jogging my memory, the great tool that came out of Recorded Future with the Compass tool leveraged the mappings work that the center put out to create that tool, which is so great. And finally, Jared, thank you. This helps me from explaining a lot. The Workbench. I've met more people than just the attack team and Ivan who use it. It is used widely, and I think it's really fantastic. It lets you, for your local use, augment and grow and work with attack in the way that makes sense to you. There are some close hold things of, oh shoot, we're not shored up here, that you might want to annotate and not share with the world. You also, like our CrowdStrike friend said the other day, have an Australian friend who's saying, hey, I tried to map this and there's not a technique in attack. I'm going to submit it back to the attack team to be able to add that. Workbench is a way that you can start to have that. So you're both adding new objects, but augmenting with different pieces of work. And we had heard from folks that you were all doing this with like sticky notes before or spreadsheets sometimes. No hate for spreadsheets, but we think this is a better way. So for anyone who attended the Threat Informed Defense conference late last year, this might look familiar. And what I want to show is a little bit of where we're going. So there's the impact report that's out there, and I highlighted some of our projects that we have. We want to be more thoughtful. We've existed for coming up on 2.5 years, and we have these kind of great one-off projects that we're proud of. We want to be more strategic than that. We're going to work on these focus areas with our membership to say, where are the gaps that are hurting us the most? Where can we really think about what helps people in the community? Because we want that impact. We don't want to do things that are just cool and we move on and you can't adopt them into your environment. They're not helping your team. When you onboard new people, it isn't giving you value. It's not where we want to be. We want to have those projects that you can actually run with and use, and it makes your life easier. So working on that, but also being thoughtful about O&M. Attack updates all the time, right? So we want to be not throwing up a mission accomplished banner when we push these things out and let them get dusty in the GitHub world. We want to maintain them. We want to hear your input. What sucks? What's awesome? What could be improved and we can iterate on to get better? Which brings me to my last call to action, which is tell us what you think. If you are using our projects or check them out, we want to hear your thoughts. These are 3 that we just published recently. There's been a lot of talk the last couple of days about sequences, and Attack Flow project that we just had out is one attempt to be able to start to communicate in that language. Sightings ecosystem, the Latin American playbook talk earlier today made me think so much of that data would be fantastic in our sightings ecosystem, which is real world observables of adversary techniques that folks can start to pull on and understand what's happening out there. And finally, the insider threat knowledge base that Matt so helpfully was talking about earlier with his own work, how we can start to coordinate on techniques that those insiders use. And if you want to, I would love you to join us. If you're not already a member, come talk to us about how we can collaborate, how you can get involved. Yeah, that's it. Hey, James.
Thank you so much. And the center has really been a trusted partner with us. Speaking from the attack team perspective, in terms of not only, like you said, spreading that threat-informed mindset and really applying that to other domains, but looking ahead, whether it's cloud, containers, mapping attack to CVE, really helping us, exactly as one of the themes of today and yesterday has been glue back to the community. So we have a couple minutes for questions. Definitely want to give folks a chance to ask Ingrid anything, but just a starter would be, what's next, or where, say someone in the community has an idea. How do they really reach out to the center and kind of share that idea or be involved? Whether it's something new and a potential idea to work around, or you mentioned everything is published online for the community to use. Where can people, individual researchers inject themselves?
Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned before, we take ideas from everyone. It's not just members. We want to hear from the community. So if you have an idea, or you just want to talk to us, we're really open to that. This is my full-time job. So help keep me employed. If you want to reach out and talk about something, love it. We do have current projects underway. One of them I mentioned, the GCP security mapping, that we're really excited to push out soon. We have another couple that I'm not going to tease yet, but that are coming out the next couple of months that we're excited for. And if you want to investigate becoming an affiliate, becoming a research member or something, also reach out. Excited to talk.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love, really just the trust of, not just investment and, just commitment to, pushing attack and pushing this threat informed mindset forward, but all the different perspectives that brings, in terms of, we share a lot of similar problems. There's probably a baseline. We're all in the same place. But as we push towards solutions, having, different perspectives, what might work for one group might not work for another, but really finding that middle. Another question I was just kind of thinking of is, going forward and looking for research avenues, in the spirit of, threat-informed defense, is there any type of scoping, as people start to come up with new ideas, like even now we're looking in Slack and people are, what about this? What about that? What is, for just a quick kind of summary, I know you touched on this earlier, what's a really kind of short understanding of what is threat-informed defense and what kind of problems are you looking for?
Yeah, so we all have limited resources, right? And, some of the folks in the audience, the reason you're members of the center, you have very sophisticated large teams. You're all super lucky that you have like a red team and a blue team and everything. A lot of folks that I've worked with, and I know Jamie and Kat and everyone I've seen, have like an IT person who's also the security person, and we're asking them to learn attack and stuff. So scoping is an important thing, that we can't be all things to all people, but we should be targeted and communicate that targetedness of, for each project, who we're hoping to help, whether it be the really sophisticated teams that we love having as part of the center, down to that one IT guy who's really just trying to get his arms around the problem, figuring out where he can make improvements.
Oh yeah, we definitely sympathize and try to do everything we can, looking out for that, small shop, large shop, whoever you are, you're here. Just kind of more general question, and one of the things I really have appreciated about, the outputs of the center is it's very unbiased. You're not necessarily going to just sing the praises of attack and throw an attack at every problem. It seems like they're very often, it's not a criticism, but we look a lot of the outputs, whether it's the insider threat matrix and all these things, and it's almost like an accelerator of sorts. Push more, ask, like Johnny said earlier, ask, take risk, ask more questions. How do you kind of see the future of kind of bridging the gap between the center, what's being coming out of the center, and infusing that to as we've seen the last 2 days, all the work that people have already been integrating with attack?
Yeah, it's such a hard question, because I believe in failure. I believe in sharing when we mess up on something and we don't get it right. And I believe there's a lot of power in iterating and living up to that and taking the criticism, which is a valuable thing, right? That we talk with our team. So sometimes you look at the projects and you're like, oh, there's a lot of biases in that. Did you think about this problem? Did you think about that? Which is such valuable input to try and make our things better. And even though we don't have a bias about what we're putting out, everyone has biases. There's the cognitive biases, there's the trying to do the best work. So we try and be very upfront about that. And yeah, so it's just really that conversation of the community of trying to get the feedback. And no, I don't believe in perfect, but I believe, like Kat was saying, we do get to a point of done, and then done allows us to iterate and communicate and move forward.
I love that philosophy, because even in those, we'll air quote failure, even in, 9 things out of 10 might not be perfect or done. But there's always that one gem where, wow, you made me ask a question or really think about something in a way that I've never considered before. So even if 9 times out of 10, it's maybe not something I'll apply directly, I can still take that one, and that becomes, wipes the slate and says 10 out of 10, great solution. Thank you. Wait, I think we have maybe time for one more question. Otherwise, thank you. Oh, question up front.
I specifically wanted to ask about CID's ecosystem and some advice on how to move the stakeholders in the discussion, how to get them to get over that concern that if they share especially when they're in chains, if they share the TTP such that they'll be showing that they might have been, breached or vulnerable, and they hold back. We've been straw polling during all the breaks, and this is the biggest barrier we're finding.
Yeah.
Just to repeat for the audience, the question was, regarding sightings and intel sharing. How do you really push people over that fear and that anxiety of over being vulnerable and kind of exposing themselves versus I was breached and I was compromised and I don't really want to talk about it or I don't want others to know about it?
Yeah, it's a big challenge, right? It requires trust. It requires building trust. And our team that works on sightings has developed a lot of anonymization tools and contracts, all the legal stuff that we can sign off on to get your data, but also have that trusted conversation about here's what we're going to take, here's what we're going to scrap out of it, here's what we're going to attribute or not attribute, so that you have that understanding and comfort to be able to give your data. I always like to make a comparison to weather reporting in Kenya for some farmers, that weather reporting isn't universally covered like it is for New York City. And for something like farming, you need that data and satellite feeds and understanding along with your individual context to be able to do your work. So if we don't have, my comparison there is the sightings ecosystem, if we don't have that real world data, then we're just kind of fumbling and our crops are all going to fail. So this is a tragedy of the commons thing of we need to get to that trust in the community to be able to all act on that data and use it to inform our defenses.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for the weather analogy. I'm going to borrow that.